Is The Conspirator an accurate and compelling portrayal of Civil War history? Or should this movie be led shamefully to the gallows? Find out right now on Movieology. Movieology is brought to you by American Vision. American Vision has a plethora of phenomenal worldview resources available at AmericanVision.com. Welcome to Movieology, your ticket to engaging the spectacular world of film from the bedrock of biblical truth. I'm your host, Stewart Adams. Be sure to check out Movieology on our website, MovieologyTV, subscribe to the show on YouTube, like our page on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. If you have any movie-related questions or just general words of wisdom, you can email us at info@movieology.tv. And starting this week, you can sign up for Movieology's bi-weekly newsletter in order to stay up to date on all things film. In the wake of Abraham Lincoln's assassination, 7 men and 1 woman are arrested and charged with conspiring to kill the president, the vice president, and the Secretary of State. The lone woman charged, Mary Surratt, owns a boarding house where John Wilkes Booth and others met and planned the simultaneous attacks. Against the ominous backdrop of post-Civil War Washington, newly minted lawyer Frederick Aiken, a 28-year-old Union war hero, reluctantly agrees to defend Surratt before a military tribunal. As the trial unfolds, Aiken realizes his client may be innocent, and that she is being used as bait and hostage in order to capture the only conspirator to have escaped the massive manhunt, her own son. With the Union mourning the recent death of their beloved president, Aiken must resist the prejudices in himself and the tribunal in order to reach the truth. The Conspirator stars Robin Wright, James McAvoy, Kevin Kline, Justin Long, and Tom Wilkinson, and it was directed by Robert Redford. Depending on your view of the War of Northern Aggression, the Civil War, The Conspirator may or may not be the film for you. On the filmmaking side of things, The Conspirator is pretty standard fare when it comes to serious dramas about historical events. There are parts of the film that are a bit slow-moving, but the acting performances are exceptional across the board, with McAvoy particularly shining as Captain Aiken. Film critics appear to be split down the middle regarding this movie, with many touting it as heavy-handed and dull. This is to be expected from secular critics, as the film portrays the North in a very poor light. In society today, the history of the Civil War has basically been reduced to Lincoln and the Union ended slavery, the end. So The Conspirator is really a movie for those passionate or at least interested in the subject matter. For those who are not, this is nothing more than a film teaching a history lecture. But for those who are interested, The Conspirator is the rare historical film that appears to be true to what really happened. By that I mean there is nothing in the film that looked out of place or overtly untrue. I am by no means an expert historian, and I'm sure there are plenty of details that could be debated endlessly. But for a general audience, the film at least gave the appearance of authenticity. Complete with John Wilkes Booth turning his ankle as he leapt onto the stage yelling, "Sic Semper Tyrannis!" This movie displays the events starting from the night of the assassination and ending on the day of the conspirator's sentencing. Above all else, The Conspirator is a courtroom movie. Though in this case, Mary Surratt was being put on trial not before a jury of her peers, but by a military tribunal composed entirely of Union generals. Throughout the movie, the prosecution presents circumstantial evidence, weak testimony, and obvious bias against the defendant under the banner of, "Someone killed our president, the American people need to know that someone was brought to justice." Aiken is constantly putting the burden of proof on the prosecutor and emphasizing the rights of every American based on the Constitution. The film even goes so far as to state that if this farce of a legal proceeding was happening with John Wilkes Booth himself, it would still be wrong. This high view of the Constitution and its purpose was extremely refreshing to see. I just wish the citing of our government's foundational document had as much influence and impact today as it did then. There are many religious references in the film, as Mary Surratt herself was a devout Catholic. She is seen praying in her cell and quotes scripture passages out loud. Aiken too has a religious background, as he states that his father was a minister. However, his knowledge of the scriptures is vaguely alluded to as just something he picked up when he was a child. It has very little bearing on his actions as an adult or how he defends his clients. One of the biggest questions of morality involving religion is posed when Aiken finds out that a priest has been hiding and sheltering one of the conspirators. When confronted about this, the priest holds up his Bible and says something to the effect of, "We follow God's law, not man's law." This is an interesting statement not only because of the Romans 13 passage of submission to government, but also because it is in a time of war. Yes, Robert E. Lee had already surrendered to the Union at this point, but many Southerners still considered it wartime. And sheltering fugitives would be merely protecting them from the enemy, rather than violating God's mandate to submit to civil authorities. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this issue, so send us a message or post a comment on what course of action you think would be appropriate. The message of the conspirator is one of standing strong for a cause even when everyone else around you is against it. In a world where it often seems like everything is against Christianity, we need to be vigilant to do the same. Frederick Aiken stood on the principles of freedom and the Constitution when everyone else was only after prejudicial vengeance. Yes, Aiken underwent hardship for his unpopular stance, and I would hope that we as Christians would have the same resolve to not be swayed by every wind of doctrine and to stand firm on absolute truth, despite the trials that may accompany it. I give The Conspirator 4 stars for being an engaging and underrated retelling of some less well-known American history. If you have questions or comments regarding this film, please email us at info@movieology.tv, or you can message us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Until next time, I'm Stewart Adams. Thanks for watching. To Lincoln and the Union ended slavery. Lincoln and the Union ended slavery. Slavery. After prejudicial vengeance. The massage of the conspirator. Under the banner of someone killed the president. Okay. All right, yeah. The film even goes so far as to state that if this farce of however, the mass, it should be, okay, okay. Ahaim. Okay.